Today we're taking a look at Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. We'll be exploring this kind of unsettling masterpiece, diving deep into its intricate world and grappling with the questions that it raises. Questions about happiness, freedom, and what it means to truly be human.
It's fascinating how this book, written almost a century ago, still manages to resonate so deeply with modern readers.
Right.
It's like Huxley tapped into, some timeless anxieties about the human condition, anxieties that are maybe even more relevant now than they were back then.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's not just some dystopian fantasy. It's a chillingly prescient reflection of our own world. A world where technology and consumerism and this pursuit of comfort so often come at the expense of, deeper values.
Yeah, one of the things that's so striking about Brave New World is how Huxley constructs this seemingly utopian society, the world state, where, everything is meticulously engineered for stability and happiness. But underneath that shiny surface, there's this profound sense of unease, a creeping suspicion that something is deeply amiss.
Absolutely, and we see that unease reflected in the very structure of the world state, starting with the hatchery and conditioning center, where human life is manufactured and molded.
The idea of babies being decanted rather than born, sorted into these rigid castes, alphas, betas, gammas, deltas, epsilons. It's both fascinating and disturbing. It speaks to our own anxieties about social engineering, genetic manipulation, and this potential for technology to dehumanize us.
And then there's soma, this ubiquitous drug that keeps everyone blissfully content. It basically eliminates all the negative emotion. The ultimate quick fix for any discomfort, a way to escape the complexities of life, a way to maintain this artificial sense of well-being.
Soma is such a brilliant invention on Huxley's part, because it really does represent this seductive temptation we all face, right? This desire for easy answers, for instant gratification, for a world without pain or struggle. But the question the book poses is, can true happiness even exist without those things? Can we truly be human if we numb ourselves to the full spectrum of human experience?
It's like we're seeing echoes of that dilemma in our own world. With the rise of social media, the constant bombardment of entertainment, the easy access to drugs that, alter our moods and perceptions, it's so easy to fall into this trap of seeking comfort and distraction rather than actually confronting the deeper questions of life.
Exactly. Brave New World forces us to confront the potential consequences of that pursuit of easy happiness, this potential cost of sacrificing our freedom, our individuality, even our capacity for suffering, all in the name of stability and contentment.
And it does that so effectively through its characters, especially Bernard Marx, this alpha plus who feels, profoundly alienated from the world state's manufactured happiness.
Oh, Bernard is such a compelling character because he embodies that flicker of dissent, that yearning for something more than the shallow pleasures and meaningless relationships that surround him. He's a misfit even among, the privileged alphas. And his discontentment, it sets him on a journey that will challenge the very foundations of the world state.
His physical differences, too.
Yeah.
The rumors that he received less alcohol in his blood surrogate during fetal development make him an outsider from the start. He's carrying this visible mark of his inner turmoil, this sense of not belonging in this perfectly engineered world.
Yeah, and that sense of alienation drives him to seek out something different, something real, something authentic.
Right.
It leads him to the savage reservation, a place untouched by the world state's civilization, where life is raw, unpredictable, and full of both joy and suffering.
And it's in the savage reservation that he encounters John, a young man raised on Shakespeare and steeped in the traditions and values of a world that the world state is, tried to erase.
John becomes this fascinating counterpoint to the citizens of the world state, right? He's passionate, he's tormented, he's capable of deep love and profound grief, and he represents everything the world state has tried to eliminate in its quest for stability and happiness.
And his introduction to the world state, it's a complete culture clash. He's both repulsed and strangely drawn to this brave new world with its casual promiscuity, its reliance on soma, and its utter lack of spirituality and depth.
John becomes a catalyst for change, this disruptive force that exposes the cracks in the world state's seemingly perfect facade.
And that clash between John's yearning for authenticity and the world state's pursuit of, manufactured happiness, that really sets the stage for one of the most thought-provoking debates in literature.
And that debate really comes to a head, in John's confrontation with Mustafa Mon, the world controller. It's like a battle of ideologies, a clash between, two radically different visions of what it means to be human.
Yeah, Mon's like the ultimate pragmatist, the architect of this grand social experiment that is the world state. He's chillingly rational in his defense of the system, arguing that stability and happiness, those are paramount, even if they require sacrificing individual freedom in the pursuit of truth.
Mon lays out the historical context for the world state's creation, this catastrophic 9 years war that just pushed humanity to the brink of annihilation. He argues that the world state, it emerged from the ashes of that destruction as a necessary solution, a way to prevent humanity from destroying itself.
So he's basically saying, look, we tried freedom, we tried individuality, and it led to chaos and suffering, so we chose stability and happiness instead, even if it means, giving up some of those messy aspects of human nature.
Right, and that's the core of his argument, isn't it? That individual freedom is inherently dangerous, a potential source of instability and conflict. He sees emotional attachments as weaknesses to be exploited, and he believes that art, religion, even science, while potentially valuable, ultimately distract from the primary goal of, societal well-being.
It's almost tragic, because Mon isn't some heartless tyrant. He's intelligent, insightful, and he even seems to have a genuine appreciation for the very things he's chosen to suppress. He has this secret stash of forbidden books, the Bible, Shakespeare, works of philosophy, hidden away in his safe.
It's as though, he recognizes the beauty and the power of those works, but he also sees them as a threat to the delicate equilibrium of the world state. He's like a man who has willingly imprisoned himself in a gilded cage, convinced that it's, the only way to protect himself and those around him from the dangers of the outside world.
And that's what makes his debate with John so compelling. John represents that yearning for freedom, for authenticity, for the right to experience the full range of human emotions, even the painful ones. And he throws down this challenge to mind, arguing that true happiness, it can't be manufactured. It has to be earned through struggle, through choice, through, the embrace of both joy and sorrow.
And Mon counters with this chillingly logical argument, saying that stability and happiness are the ultimate goods, and that anything that threatens those goals, even individual freedom, must be sacrificed.
It's a debate that's as relevant today as it was when Huxley wrote the book. I mean, we're living in a world where technology is constantly offering us new ways to escape discomfort, to, curate our experiences, to create these echo chambers of like-mindedness. Are we losing something in the process? Are we sacrificing our capacity for critical thinking, for empathy, for genuine connection, and the pursuit of comfort and convenience?
Right, those are the questions that Brave New World forces us to confront. It doesn't offer any easy answers, but it holds up this mirror to our own society, challenging us to examine our values, our desires, and the choices we make every day.
Yeah, and it does so in a way that's both intellectually stimulating and emotionally resonant. Book isn't just a philosophical treatise, it's a story about people. About their relationships, their struggles, their triumphs and failures.
Right, take Linda, for example. She's a woman from the world state who ends up stranded in the Savage Reservation. And despite her conditioning, she struggles to adapt to the harsh realities of that world. She longs for the comforts and artificial happiness of the world state, for the oblivion offered by Soma.
She represents this tragic consequence of a society that prioritizes pleasure over genuine human connection.
Yeah.
She's lost her ability to cope with the complexities of life, to form meaningful bonds, to find solace in anything other than instant gratification.
And then there's John, who embodies the opposite extreme. He's so overwhelmed by the intensity of his emotions, by the weight of his experiences, that he ultimately can't find a place for himself in either the world state or the Savage Reservation.
Yeah, his attempt to escape the artificiality of the world state, to live as a hermit in an abandoned lighthouse, is ultimately thwarted by the very society he's trying to flee. He becomes a spectacle, a curiosity, a reminder of the things the world state has tried to eradicate. Passion, suffering, the search for meaning beyond the superficial.
His tragic fate, it underscores the power of social conditioning, how difficult it is to break free from the systems that shape our beliefs and behaviors. It also raises questions about the nature of freedom itself. Can true freedom exist in a world that's constantly trying to define and control us?
Right. And is it even possible to reject those systems entirely? To to live according to our own values and principles when we're so deeply embedded in those systems. John's struggle highlights the tension between our desire for individuality and our need for connection, for belonging.
And his story also serves as a warning about the dangers of romanticizing the past. The savage reservation, for all its authenticity, it's also a place of poverty, violence, and superstition. It's not a utopia by any means.
No. Brave New World doesn't offer any easy solutions or simplistic answers. It's not about idealizing one way of life over another. It's about recognizing the complexities of the human experience and the challenges we face in navigating a world that's constantly evolving.
And that's what makes it so relevant today, as we grapple with the rapid advancements in technology, the increasing pressures of consumerism, the blurring lines between reality and virtuality. Brave New World serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to be mindful of the choices we're making, both individually and as society.
Right, yeah. It's a reminder that the future isn't predetermined. It's something we create through our actions, our values, and our willingness to engage in these difficult conversations about what truly matters. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Brave New World, where do we even begin to unpack the implications of this book, for our own lives? It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the parallels, to see the subtle ways in which our own society might be heading down a similar path towards, engineered happiness and manufactured consent.
It's certainly a book that provokes a lot of introspection, but I think the most important takeaway isn't to despair or become, paralyzed by fear. It's to use the book as a catalyst for awareness, as a springboard for, critical thinking and meaningful action.
Right. It's not about rejecting technology or progress outright. It's about being mindful of the choices we're making, about questioning the systems that shape our lives, and about actively shaping the kind of future we want to create.
One of the things that strikes me about Brave New World is how insidious the world state's control is. It's not a brutal dictatorship. It's a system that seduces you into compliance with pleasure and comfort. It offers you instant gratification, a world without pain or struggle, and in return, it asks for your individuality, your freedom, your very soul.
It's like that old saying, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
And the world state has perfected the art of honey trapping its citizens into, blissful obedience.
And that's what makes the book so relevant to our own time. We're constantly bombarded with distractions, with entertainment, with opportunities for instant gratification. It's easy to become, numb to the complexities of life, to lose our capacity for critical thought, for genuine connection, for the things that make us truly human.
So how do we resist that in a world that's constantly trying to mold us into passive consumers?
I think it starts with awareness, with recognizing the subtle ways in which we might be giving up our freedom, our individuality, even our capacity for suffering in exchange for comfort and convenience.
Right. It's about questioning the messages we're being fed, the values that are being promoted, and asking ourselves, is this truly serving me? Is this contributing to the kind of world I want to live in?
And it's about cultivating those aspects of ourselves that the world state seeks to suppress. Our creativity, our curiosity, our capacity for critical thinking, our willingness to challenge the status quo.
It's about embracing the messiness of life, the joy and the sorrow, the struggle and the triumph, because, well, those are the things that make us truly human.
Exactly. Brave New World reminds us that true happiness, it isn't something that can be manufactured or imposed from the outside. It's something that grows from within, through our choices, our relationships, our experiences, both positive and negative.
Right. It's about finding meaning and purpose in a world that often seems determined to strip us of those things.
And it's about remembering that we're not alone in this struggle. There are others who are also questioning, resisting, and seeking to create a better world.
So what's the call to action here? What can we do to resist the pull toward a brave new world in our own lives?
I think it starts with small acts of rebellion, with choosing to disconnect from the constant stream of information and entertainment, with seeking out, authentic experiences, with engaging in meaningful conversations, with cultivating our own creativity and critical thinking skills.
Right. It's about being mindful consumers, about supporting businesses and organizations that align with our values, about using our voices and our action to shape the world around us.
And it's about remembering that even in a world that often seems determined to control us, we still have a choice. We can choose to be awake, to be engaged, and to fight for the kind of future we want to see.
Well said. Brave New World is a stark reminder of the stakes involved, but it's also a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Even in the face of overwhelming control, there's always the possibility of resistance, of hope, of creating a world that honors the fullness of our humanity.
So, to our listener, as you venture back into your world after this deep dive, remember the lessons of Brave New World. Cherish your freedom, cultivate your individuality, and never stop questioning the systems that seek to define you.
And remember, even in a world that may seem increasingly like Huxley's dystopian vision, there's always the potential for change, for growth, for creating a future that is truly worthy of the name Brave. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Until next time, happy reading and even happier thinking.